Also, just so you guys know, we are recording this session so that we can put it on our YouTube channel and on our website. So for people who couldn't join at this time, they can come back to it and watch it in their own time. And also for you guys who have joined, if you want to refer back to anything that we talk about today, you will have a video to refer back to.
Okay, should we get started?
Let's.
Awesome. There might be a few people trickling in as we go. But hi. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of MoLabs. For those of you who haven't joined a MoLabs before, MoLabs is all about providing AI support for creatives around the world, especially for the MoFilm community of creators and filmmakers. We are thrilled to have you here. This is season 2 and episode 1. The reason we're calling it season 2 is because there were a few episodes done at the beginning of the year, season 1. We had a summer break, but we're back. And Harriet and I are your hosts for this season 2. The previous season, which was hosted by our lovely Lee and Tatiana in North America, had some really great episodes about some specific tools that you can use. So runway, puppetry, Descript, and also a bit more of an overview session. So if you haven't seen those, definitely worth checking those out because they're really interesting. They are all uploaded onto our community page on our website, so that's the best place to access them. And as Harriet said, this session is recorded, so hello to everyone who's watching after the event. Thank you for joining us today. So this episode is going to be a little bit different. Rather than bringing in an expert to talk about a tool or a product, Harriet and I are going to give you some tips and tricks from our perspective that will hopefully help you dive a little bit deeper into generative AI and Chat GPT specifically. So to introduce ourselves properly, my name is Sophie Robertson. I am an executive producer here in the UK. I'm based in London. And this is my co-host, Harriet Beaumont, who is a senior creative producer, and she's also in the UK.
Hi.
So we are the hosts for season 2, as I mentioned, and there will be some more episodes coming out before the end of the year. So please keep an eye on our social media for more information on that. So let's get stuck in. I think, as you know, 2023 has been the year of generative AI. Here's a bit of a snapshot of various headlines that have been around recently. Some are more pragmatic, some are a little bit more sensational. AI, artificial intelligence, has been around for a long time. Search engines, for example, Siri, Alexa, I mean, even the spam filter in your inbox is run by artificial intelligence. So it's nothing new, but generative AI is new and seems to be dominating the headlines and getting a lot of media attention, especially around the topics of replacing jobs or human creativity. I think in the latter half of 2023, the media hysteria is dying down a little bit, and people are starting to see these tools as tools that you can use versus a replacement for human creativity or an existential threat or some sort of replacement. So this episode in particular, we're going to be talking about Chat GPT, possibly the most accessible of the AI tools. I feel like everyone has probably been into it and played around with it, possibly even downloaded the app on your phones. And I think what we're going to try and do here is, I don't know about you guys, but I often go into it and I kind of don't really know where to take it and how to delve in a little bit deeper. The possibilities are endless. So we think with this session, we're going to hopefully give you a few sparks of inspiration to help to give you some ideas on how you can use the tool. So what is ChatGPT? We'll take it back to basics to start off with. It's an artificial intelligence tool, and it was launched in November 2022. So it's only been around about a year, which is mad, really, to think about. ChatGPT stands for generative pre-trained transformer, and it's not the only AI chatbot out there, but it certainly is the one that gets the most attention at the moment. It takes information from humans. It takes training data from humans and to generate its response, but it also is constantly iterating and to get better informed. But one thing to really flag is that there is a huge room for error on Chat GPT. It struggles to distinguish between fact and fiction. And it has this elevated sense of confidence as well. So it tells you something as if it is a fact. So you always have to use your sense of judgment to figure out, just kind of take it with a bit of a pinch of salt. If you're looking for facts, I think, search engines are still the best place to go ultimately. We found this little nugget online and we thought this was interesting. In November 2022, Chat GPT 3.5 failed the New York bar exam. In March 2023, Chat GPT 4 scored in the 90th percentile. So you can see there in those 4 to 5 months how far the tool has come, and you can only really imagine where it's going to be in the next couple of years. So it's constantly iterating and improving the more people use it. I think one thing that we have to talk about as filmmakers, creatives, production experts is the recent Hollywood writers' strike. I'm sure everyone knows about it, but it's a strike by writers against the use of AI. It was settled in a way that allowed the studios to use generative AI to write scripts so they can't use generative AI to write scripts in the place of writers, but it does state the right to use and access generative AI for script writing sits with the writers themselves. And I think that's actually a really, really important point as we move forward, and something that we want to keep coming back to is that in these tools in the hands of creatives can be really powerful, and I think there's a real movement for it for these tools. They should be in the hands of creatives because it helps us elevate our work, and we should be feeling empowered by these tools versus kind of hesitant or replaced. This was interesting. We asked ChatGPT, and this is from the horse's mouth itself. Always remember to use ChatGPT as a complementary resource alongside the expertise of experienced filmmakers, as it can provide valuable insights and ideas, but it may not replace human creativity and judgment. So this session specifically is about how to harness ChatGPT for filmmakers. The main thing to caveat here is that Harriet and I are by no means experts. We like the rest of the world, we've been playing around and kind of experimenting with it. And here are some tips and tricks that we found to be super useful. I think that if anyone's got any other tips that they use it for, then please feel free to share in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And yes, it's by no means comprehensive, but hopefully should be helpful, and hopefully it will help you elevate your work and allow you to dig in a little bit deeper. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand over to my co-host Harriet, who's going to get into some specifics.
Thanks, Sophie. So today we're going to cover a few different ways of using ChatGPT as a creative or filmmaker. As Sophie said, we're by no means experts on how to use this, but over the last few months we've been practicing and learning, and it does take a little bit of practice, but learning how to exercise this tool in our day-to-day across 3 different areas of focus, and that's what we're going to cover today. So we're going to look at how you can use it for strategic research, creative development, and executional efficiencies. One thing that I've learned in my exploration of this tool is that at first it can feel a little bit overwhelming, especially to get started. But the more you use it, the easier it becomes. You get used to the language that you need to use to get good prompts and get good answers. Think of it a little bit like how when Google first rocked up on the scene and we had never used a search engine before. It's a little bit like that. I think one big caveat that we want to acknowledge up front is that using ChatGPT is not and should not be a replacement for your own creative thinking and human judgment. As Sophie mentioned earlier, there's been a lot in the press with the writers' strike over the last couple of years. about the cons of using such tools. And we absolutely agree that it shouldn't become a replacement for your own conscious thinking and experiences and how those can influence your work in a great way. But it can be a helpful way to get you started and build efficiency to some of the processes that we have to go through in this journey. So let us begin. So the first area you can use Chat GPT is for strategic research. This is for when you're at the very start of your project. Perhaps, you've just received a brief and you want to interrogate it slightly, build a bit of background knowledge and understanding on a brand or a product. Maybe you're looking at a new market sector and you just want to get your brain into the right headspace. This is a really great way to do that quickly and efficiently. At MoFilm, we write this into our brief. So when you receive a brief from us, this will already be summarized for you. But you may, on other projects in other places, get briefs where you don't get this information. So, right, before we go into some details and specific prompts, just to let you know that I know we're a day late, but some of this is Halloween themed. Okay, so here's our first prompt. Summarize the development of the Halloween market in the US during the 20th and 21st century. So we're going to show you a little screen record of me typing that in. I assume most people here have probably used Chat GPT before, or at least seen it. But in case this is the first time, all you do is type your prompt into that bottom chat box there, and then it will take a moment to think about it and produce an answer, a response for you. You can see here in chronological order, it's giving me a summary of Halloween in the 20th and then the 21st century with some brief details on each of the points that it's curating for me. So this is a great way to get digestible summaries of broad information. You can also become much more specific with your prompt, requesting certain details on particular areas, or even copying an article or report and asking ChatGPT to summarize it for you. What I would do with this information that it shares, though, is always make sure that you are doing your own research alongside this to verify that it's accurate. So I would take this information, put it into Google myself, and make sure that it was actually accurate. And I would never take this information verbatim and put it into a treatment, for example. Okay, so for our next couple of prompts, I just want to demonstrate how you can build them up to formulate an almost conversation in Chat GPT, because it's a really useful way to keep track of information and correct yourself as you go along. So our next prompt, I will ask, what are the most popular Halloween candy brands in the US? And so we can see the response. It is providing me with a summary of the popular Halloween candy brands, a little bit of information on each of them. Super helpful if you want to do a quick little competitor insight activity or something like that. I could also evolve this prompt to branch it out to other markets. Perhaps I want to see what's popular in the UK or rest of world, or I could even move it away from candy and look at something like costumes or traditions. Think about this like you're having a conversation with ChatGPT to keep it organic, and that will help with, I think Sophie made this point earlier, that sometimes you can get to a little bit of a roadblock with these tools. And if you think about it like a conversation, it helps it flow and keep it fluid and allows you to go on a journey with the information that it's sharing back with you. Okay. Next, I could ask ChatGPT for some research on the pros and cons of Halloween candy for trick-or-treaters. Now, many of you with children will know that this is pointless activity, but what's interesting here is that ChatGPT's response is written almost as though it has an opinion on the matter itself. Now, this is definitely a watch out, because you don't want a response which is at risk of bias or misinformation. And for all my sense and purposes, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for fact. So I should have probably written this prompt differently. And an alternative way that I could have written that is, can you provide me with some links to scientific research resources on this topic? And that would have prompted Chat GPT to be more specific and provide me with resource material that I could then go and read and absorb and make those decisions on pros and cons myself. This is kind of articulating it in a way which is having an opinion, which I don't necessarily think is that helpful. Okay. Next up, this is just a nice way when you're looking at a brief to delve a little bit deeper into something that we consider as filmmakers when we're working with brands, and that is audience profiles. So can we create an audience profile for a typical Reese's peanut butter candy buyer? Well, it certainly can. It's always helpful to understand this and to get a little bit more under the skin of our audience type, and in particular when you're not sure what the audience type is for a piece of content that you're trying to create. So this can start to help you shape an idea of a persona, characteristics, behaviors, psychographics. This goes super detailed, which is interesting because you may not even need that much detail. So you can refine your prompting to summarize the profile of a Reese's peanut butter candy buyer to a certain length or to a certain degree of detail. But I thought this was a really interesting way to use it when you are looking into strategic research around a brief, around personas and that type of thing. Okay, so to summarize our first section on how you can use ChatGPT for strategic research, it's really at the front end of any creative briefing process to summarize information, list other popular brands or competitors in certain markets. You can provide research sources and information for your own research outside of ChatGPT, and create example audience profiles, which is useful for you to get a little bit more under the skin of a brief. Okay, moving on. So next up is how we can use it for creative development. I've already mentioned this, but want to reiterate again that yes, ChatGPT can help you come up with initial ideas, scripts, concepts, brainstorming, but it is no replacement for real life human experience and thinking. So let's explore. Say you receive a brief and you're a little bit stuck on where to get started, or you just want an easy way to explore a large volume of ideas before you settle into a particular route and develop that on your own. Prompting ChatGPT for thought starters is a great way to do this, and you can start to hone in on the style, genre, and mood, etc., of the type of thing that you want to create. So we've asked it, suggest some thought starters for a script based on 2 characters who go trick-or-treating on Halloween. The idea should combine horror, humor, and appeal to a diverse audience. So here we go. You can see me type that in and see what comes back. Comes back with, I think, 10 different options. So as I said, this is a great way to get volume quickly, allowing you to spend more time refining and honing in on your idea. We've all been in those situations where we struggle to come up with the ideas to start with. This is just a way to help make that happen a little bit quicker. Perhaps these ideas become springboards for something else, or just the very basics of something that you develop further on. What you'll realize, though, as you go away and play with this, is that the ideas are very basic. We can always tell when someone submits an idea to us that has been written by ChatGPT because they are very generic. What's missing is that independent and authentic experience that we all draw on when we're going through the creative process, and that helps work feel relevant, relatable, authentic, and organic. So that's what's missing here. That is the layer that you as a filmmaker need to add on if you are going to use ChatGPT in this way to help you with brainstorming. Okay, so next up, like before, I'm going to build up these prompts as if we were having a conversation with Chat GPT, because in my mind, it's helpful to follow the prompts as if they are a journey and iterate upon the same prompt and ideas in one place. So next up, can we turn this idea into a 2-minute short film script? So you'll see in the demo film here that I've taken one of those ideas and I've asked it to create a 2-minute short film script based off of that idea. I mean, it's not going to be winning an Oscar or a Cannes Lion anytime soon, but it proves the point that it is possible to do this. It can help start you off, essentially, but we definitely encourage you not to look at writing your scripts in this way, and to take these as a starting point for you to develop and add those special nuances to your work outside of the platform. Some other ways that you could build on these prompt suggestions that are helpful. For example, you have a script that you've written. You could copy and paste that into Chat GPT and ask it to review and check it for spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes. I mean, those things are always a chore and we always miss them. So it takes that human error out, which can be quite time consuming. Another interesting way you could use it is if you want to explore pushing a script in new and different directions. Perhaps you want to see a new genre added in, or different moods, characters, themes, etc. It can help you quickly explore, and it's this point about volume again, lots of different iterations of the same thing without you having to go and write them yourself. So what you would do with that is then boil them down to the version that you are happiest in the end, taking inspiration from everything that it's put in front of you. It's super helpful in having a first stab at cut downs. How many times have we been in that process where we have an amazing 2-minute film and then we have to re-script it to fit a 15-second social media ad or a 30-second TVC? It really helps you cut the time frame to being able to do that. But again, you want to add your own layers and nuances on top of that. Also, if you have an original idea and you want to explore integrating a product, it can help you see where that could be woven in very, very quickly. So it's learning how to incorporate branding into ideas that perhaps weren't branded from the very beginning. Okay, and so this next prompt actually is something that I've used recently and has been vouched for as being very helpful. You can take a script, put it into Chat GPT and ask it to create a shot list for that script. And you can give it direction on the style and any of the creative nuances that you want to include in there and the aesthetic. And it's just a really helpful way to bring a script to life in a shot list format. So here's a little example. It's definitely worth, as we keep saying, to make sure that you check these afterwards. It does make mistakes. It's not totally perfect. You do want to make sure that it is hitting all of the marks on your checklist and your requirements. But this is a really time-savvy way to create shot lists, which for me have been especially useful when working with creators and working on UGC projects to help give a little bit of direction on how to break up a scene into the shots that we need to film. So that's a real life use case right there. Okay. Now, next up, this is kind of interesting, and without wanting to get into the detail of other platforms too much here, I wanted to show you how you can turn the written word into smart visuals that can be used to illustrate your ideas. This is perfect for concept or treatment documents without having to go down a more expensive professional artist route. However, I do just want to acknowledge that there is a great benefit of working with storyboard artists and real artists for things like storyboards and animations, but this is just a kind of cost-effective and time-effective way of doing quick little sketches. So we've actually covered Midjourney, one of the text-to-image platforms, in a previous episode of MoLabs, so make sure you go and check that one out if you're interested in this. But for this one, I use Dolly, which is the open AI platform, which is the same platform that runs Chat GPT. I asked Chat GPT to create an image prompt from my shot list, and then I copied that and added the style that I wanted into Dolly, and it came back with some pretty good visualizations of the shot list. I mean, again, they're not perfect, they're kind of rough, but this tech is developing super fast. And although it isn't right first time, it is a really smart, easy way to get quick visuals that can be helpful if you're looking to illustrate an idea, especially for, you know, a client meeting or an agency meeting, that type of thing. So there we go. To wrap up this section on creative development, you can use ChatGPT for the following, but the big caveat here is that these ways of using the tool are not, they should not be a replica or replacement for the real human experience. So you can use it for script writing, thought starters, and alternate versions, expand on creative ideas and test those different directions that you could possibly take something, create shot lists and shot suggestions, and create image search prompts for use in text-to-image AI platforms. Okay. So to cover off our final section, we wanted to discuss executional efficiencies and how you can use ChatGPT, especially in post-production and delivery. A few of these we are yet to test ourselves, but we can certainly see how they could relieve some of the pain points that we experience with this stuff on a day-to-day basis. So you can use ChatGPT to translate scripts into different languages. Absolutely wonderful, but you need to make sure that you get that checked, of course. You can create casting briefs based off of your script idea and social media callouts for actors or locations. I mean, the social media callouts that it can scribe include emojis. You can then take that and add your own tone of voice to it, but they are really, really good and a great way to save time in coming up with those things. You can use it to suggest music genres, moods, and styles that fit with a certain script or idea. You can get it to come up with technical suggestions of camera equipment and kit lists, software requirements. That's something that I have not checked out, but I can see how that could be quite useful, especially for a filmmaker who's maybe just starting out. It's great for creating captions, transcripts, and files. It can create the SRT code that you can just copy and paste straight into your uploads, and accessibility transcripts, which are becoming more and more important, especially for our clients. So yeah, it's a great way to save time in creating some of those slightly arduous, maybe tedious production tasks. Okay. And right, we start to wrap up. There we have it. We thought that if there is only one thing to learn from today, we should probably hear from the horse's mouth itself. We thought we'd ask ChatGPT what it had to say about this. What are the do's and don'ts for using ChatGPT as a filmmaker? The do's are use it for brainstorming ideas. So like I showed you earlier, coming up with thought starters, brainstorming different versions of scripts, that type of thing. Script feedback, research resources. Don'ts, definitely don't use it for full script writing. We can all tell they're so generic, they're not going to, you know, blow anyone's mind. So you need to add your own experiences and mind and writing skills to that. Don't put sensitive content into Chat GPT. That's not wise. Don't try to mimic existing content and material for risk of copyright infringement. And just don't rely on it solely to be able to get through the heavy lifting of most of these production tasks and tasks that we have every day as filmmakers. Use it as a tool to help save time and build efficiencies into the process, and initiate some of that thinking process that we go through day to day. Okay, I'm going to hand back over to Sophie to summarize our last couple of slides, but thank you so much for listening, and I hope that this was helpful.
Thanks, Harriet. Yes, and I thought really tangible examples there of how you can use it. And I think it's also really helpful having the prompts that you put in, because I think sometimes that's the hardest bit, is knowing exactly what to ask. And I think it's also that really smart of like continuing that conversation, because it does remember the conversation that you had before and iterate on it, and it just gets you to kind of deeper and deeper into what you're looking for.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I think that I mean, that's the way that I use it, and that's what I'm telling you here. But you know, lots of people use it in their own way, and I think you just got to get into a place where you feel comfortable experimenting with it, and like nothing you put in is going to be necessarily wrong. You just might not get the best thing out of it. So I have, over the last few weeks, have tried and tested multiple ways of writing these prompts and getting these responses. They still need work, they can still be better, they can still evolve, and they can still do different things.
Sorry, clicked too soon then. Yeah, no, that's a really good point, thank you. Yeah, so I mean, just to summarize here, I think, just building on what Harriet just said, use it poorly and you will get poor results. So hopefully some of these tips have helped you with this one. Use it as a tool to drive efficiency and productivity. I mean, essentially that's what AI is going to do. It's a different way of doing the same things, but just much quicker. And we all kind of need to get on board with it. It's not going away. We need to figure out how we can embrace it and use it. Push the limits of what can be achieved. And I think this is really good when you've reached a bit of a block, and you just need to kind of get over that block and have some thought starters and inspiration. I think it's a perfect tool for that. Be mindful of what you share. So think of it as a social media platform. Don't put anything into Chat GPT that you wouldn't share on your social media, and that's especially relevant when dealing with client and brand sensitive information. Just be mindful of what you put in. There's ways of stripping out anything confidential and specific. You can still ask it and use it as a tool, but kind of not giving any sensitive information away. And then finally, just test, just kind of keep using it and keep coming up with different ways of experimenting, because that's what it's there for. So yeah, I mean, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was informative. We would love to get feedback, and we'd love any questions and comments. So here's our email addresses if you'd like to contact us directly afterwards. But otherwise, I hope it's been interesting, and look forward to the next session. Watch this space.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.